in Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
It is Locked In here on a Monday afternoon. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton with you in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. We've already been together for the first 2 hours of the afternoon here. Grayson's filling in for Steely this week on Steelman and Thune at noon. But guess what? Y'all get an encore performance because, as we do every weekday from 2 to 3, it's time for Locked In. 1 hour of OU football and recruiting talk. Primarily, we reserve the right to veer off course a little bit here and there. It might have to do with bowling. It might have to do with TikTok. Who knows where the day will take us every single time Grayson and I are on the mic together. But this hour of programming here on the Ref is brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. Family owned and operated. They pride themselves on having the best service technicians and friendly service advisors that put your needs first. They got half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Very much worth the trip out to El Reno to check in with the folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. I'll be completely honest with you, Grayson. I don't know what we're going to talk about for the next hour.
Perfect.
There's not a whole lot going on in the world of OU recruiting because it is January. But there is one very obvious topic of discussion. And by the way, we're here, of course, to answer all of your questions throughout the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. But I guess I would start with this. We sit here on this Monday afternoon anticipating the potential hire of one Jim Knowles to be Oklahoma's next defensive coordinator. Will it come to fruition? We don't know for certain. But obviously there are plenty of signs pointing in that direction. Now, the question from a recruiting standpoint becomes, how quickly can you expect a boom? Because if you hire one of the top defensive coordinators in college football, you hire one of the top defensive minds in the sport, you pair him with another one of the top defensive minds in the sport who is your head coach at this time in Brent Venables, you would expect that at a certain point, probably in the not-too-distant future, you're going to have a recruiting boom. You're going to be able to start recruiting more and better players on the defensive side of the ball than you have been able to recruit in recent years. And Oklahoma has recruited pretty well defensively. But I think about a guy like a Sammy Omasigo in the class of 2023 who was, I believe, the number 69 overall player and the number 3 linebacker in the nation that year. Especially at that position, that's a guy the likes of which Oklahoma hasn't landed since, the caliber of which Oklahoma hasn't landed since, especially at that position. And so you bring in Jim Knowles, you expect great things, not just on the football field, but on the recruiting trail. The question becomes, is Oklahoma in a position to where they can sell recruits on the vision, or do they have to prove it on the field first? Because it's an interesting scenario where, yes, Knowles and Venables are all of a sudden on the same staff, and that's a powerhouse in and of itself, but you've also gone 6-7, 10-3, 6-7 in the first 3 years of Brent Venables' tenure at Oklahoma. How much apprehension will there be from the recruits' point of view as to what the future looks like at Oklahoma and whether they can confidently jump on board?
It's a little bit of both. Because on the one hand, you have Brent Venables and you have Jim Knowles, like you mentioned. 2 of the 5 best defensive minds in the sport, and that reputation will precede them. That's the positive. The halfway negative, because it's not a full negative, is that you're going to have to sell recruits on some long-term stability, because if this season goes awry in 2025, everybody's up out of there. That's just the cold, hard fact of the situation. So, that's obviously doesn't fall under the bridge when it comes to these players. They know that. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to sell them a lot of long-term, hey, we're going to be here We want you here, and we want you here for multiple years because we believe that we're going to be here for multiple years. That, to me, is going to be a little bit of a bigger challenge. It would be interesting to see the data of how a head coach who is on a very, very boiling seat but brings in two really good coordinators, how they fare in that next recruiting cycle, because everybody knows that their job could be in jeopardy if they don't perform up to a certain expectation. So, to me, there is the one thing that works in your favor with the fact that you guys, Brent Venables has coordinated defenses in national championships. Jim Knowles is about to do it tonight. There's that reputation. But also, there is a danger that we won't be back here past 2025 or 2026.
Couple clerical things here before we move on. First and foremost, shout out to the good folks at the Brown Bag who brought us lunch today. 3770 West Robinson Street in the Brookhaven Center. 405-857-2744. They're your national championship headquarters this evening. They got carry-out, drive-through, easy pickup for tonight's national championship game. So you can do watch party catering, get your to-go food via the Brown Bag. Got to try the Southwest Avocado Burger. They got the Diner Grilled Onion Burger, which is a fan favorite. And, of course, the Boomer Burger, which is their version of the Theta with a delicious hickory sauce made fresh every morning. And it's a Hal Smith restaurant, so you know it's a quality product. Again, 405-857-2744 to get in touch with the folks at the Brown Bag. Awesome lunch that they provided for us today at the Ref Studios. Also, I wondered how long it was going to take us for us to get a text of this ilk, but a listener in the 918 said, great day for OU football. OU wins at an 83% clip when Republicans are in office, since Dwight Eisenhower, but only 68% of the time with Democrats in office. Feel free to check my numbers. I don't really feel inclined to, but apparently if you believe that there is a correlation between Republicans in the Oval Office and Oklahoma winning football games, yes, congratulations. Today is a triumphant day for you.
Only thing I'll say to that is, how the hell did you come up with that? Well, I know how you did. It's pretty easy. But why?
Addition.
But why did you do that? And why do you have so much time on your hands to do that?
People fill their free time in a variety of different ways.
You know what Steely would say, and I don't know the age demographic of this texter, but you know what Steely would say if I came to him with something like that?
What's that?
Your generation doesn't procreate enough.
Oh, he's said those exact words I don't know how many times.
Oh yeah, that's what he would say if I came to him with some research like that. What are you doing with your life?
Big Rich in OKC says, guys, and this gets back on topic here, what we opened the show discussing. Guys, I don't think that that's a big deal for kids on whether that coach might be there in a year or two, because they're all looking at only being there year by year anyway. And thank you, Big Rich, for opening the door to this conversation, because if you were tracking what happened over the past several weeks between Wisconsin and a defensive back named Xavier Lucas, I think you are very, very in tune with the reality that few student athletes these days are going to be committing to an institution for 4 full years. To bring you up to speed, if you're not familiar with this backstory, Xavier Lucas is a defensive back, or I should say was a defensive back at the University of Wisconsin. Apparently, in early December, Xavier Lucas, who is an excellent player, had signed a 2-year NIL memorandum or something, some sort of agreement that bound but didn't really bind him to Wisconsin for 2 seasons to come. Then what happened was Miami tampered with him. And let's just call it like it is. Everybody that's tracking that saga understands what was afoot at that point. Miami tampered. Miami had back-channel conversations with Xavier Lucas to coerce him into the transfer portal. He chose to enter the transfer portal. Wisconsin did not release him to the transfer portal, which is, to my knowledge, unprecedented. I have not seen an instance such as that in the, 5-6 years that we've been dealing with the transfer portal as an entity. So Wisconsin says, nope, we're not filing your paperwork. We're not going to let you get in the transfer portal because we know Miami tampered with you and you're going to screw us over. Xavier Lucas retains legal counsel. He hires a lawyer to do battle on legal grounds with the University of Wisconsin. That apparently goes nowhere because at a certain point, Xavier Lucas simply decides, I am unenrolling from the University of Wisconsin and I am enrolling at the University of Miami. Screw the transfer portal. I'm bypassing it. I'm just going to enroll at Miami and play football. Needless to say, the University of Wisconsin says, well, you can't do that. You can't just enroll there. You have to go through the proper channels. You have to enter the transfer portal, and we're not releasing you to the transfer portal. Xavier Lucas says, yeah, no, actually I can, and I'm going to. I'm leaving. I'm enrolling at the University of Miami. The NCAA releases a statement on the matter, which amounts to, yeah, no, actually, he's right. We can't prohibit a student athlete from unenrolling at an institution and enrolling at another one. And immediately everybody realizes that the entire landscape of college athletics, if it hasn't shifted enough in the last several years, is about to seismically shift once again. Because all of a sudden the NCAA has acknowledged that they cannot restrict player movement at all. Xavier Lucas said, the transfer portal doesn't actually exist. And the NCAA said, no, yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
And by the way, Parker, to add on to that, you can't even blame the NCAA on this one.
No, because the NCAA knows that whatever they try to enforce at this point is going to get challenged in court and they will lose.
It's not even that, though. It's the fact that the reason you can do this in college is because of the academic side of things.
Correct.
All he's got to say is, well, I want to transfer to another institution because I want to go to college there. How many normal students do that? A lot of them.
Many.
If all he does is say that, and then he's like, well, I'm going to go join the football team too. How many normal students do that too? So at that point, he is leveraging, it's not even a loophole, it's a chasm that is completely unlegislated in this thing. And I can just imagine the collective blank that went on in the NCAA headquarters when they figured out there is no way for us to stop this. This is bad.
Because the underlying implication there is that the NCAA cannot even restrict player movement mid-season. They cannot prevent players from unenrolling at an institution mid-semester, enrolling somewhere else, and being immediately eligible. So, let's say, for instance, let's take everybody's favorite villain, Missouri. And John Mateer actually has family ties to the University of Missouri. Let's say John Mateer leads Oklahoma to a 5-0 record to start the season and throws 20 touchdown passes. Having a great year, having a Heisman caliber year, OU's 5-0, life's great, right? You got Texas coming up. John Mateer is going to lead you into battle against the rival Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl.
Don't do this.
And you're feeling like $1 million as an OU fan.
Don't do this.
But Missouri gets in touch with John Mateer's people and says, hey, we'll pay you $5 million right now to get out of school at the University of Oklahoma, come enroll at the University of Missouri, and join our football program tomorrow. John Mateer could do that. Neither the NCAA nor the University of Oklahoma could prevent that. That is the implication. What Xavier Lucas just revealed is that the NCAA no longer has any jurisdiction to regulate player movement in any capacity.
And because of this situation, I know this is I don't know how feasible this is. It probably has like a 5% chance of even being feasible. You have to do something about this before next season. I don't know how quickly it takes you to write rules, but they need to get they need to get a commissioner, they need to get a scheduling czar, and they need to get a cabinet for all of those for both of those positions. They need to have this in place by the spring transfer portal, and they need to write rules about that govern that. This is you think it's chaotic already? You are exactly right. Can you imagine bowl season comes around and these teams start picking off players for their national championship run.
And that's probably where it would be most prevalent is during bowl season.
I mean, that exactly, and that's absurd. We had a team that couldn't play in their bowl game because all their players were in the portal. Imagine if we're now in a 12-team college football playoff, and let's just say in the case of Georgia, their starting quarterback goes down, like Carson Beck did this year. And they look around and let's see, Oklahoma, your quarterback's pretty good. Hey, Johnny, you want $7 million to come play 3 games for us to help us win a natty? Who's to stop that?
Yeah.
You got to figure this thing out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Otherwise, this is going to go to chaos, to even more chaos.
Or Ohio State catches wind that Jim Knowles is in the running for the DC job at Oklahoma, and they're pissed, right? So, you want to mess with our defensive coordinator? Watch this. Jaden Jackson, you want to be a Buckeye? And a lot of people on the text line right now are texting the same text, which is, well, I don't think you can just get admitted to another school mid-semester. Well, that may be true on paper. You don't think schools will find a way to fudge that?
Do you know how many halfway illegal things this whole operation? I mean, the whole thing was taken up in the House this past summer because of violation of antitrust laws. The whole thing is built on stuff that may not be legal.
And Santa John said, Parker, aren't there academic transfer requirements being met from an exiting and entering student? Yeah, there absolutely are. But again, you don't think schools will fudge that?
They've been doing that since high school. Players get around academic stuff all the time since they were 14.
If you haven't taken anything away from the last 5 years of widespread change in collegiate athletics, this should be your takeaway. Or one of them, at least. One of the big ones. There are loopholes for everything. Everything.
Chapstick on the text line. None of what Grayson is talking about is possible without a players' union and a collective bargaining agreement. I am so glad you brought that up because that's what's coming down the pike next.
Yep, and that's what we're going to have to provide any semblance of stability to any of this. So, obviously, this is a broad conversation. You all will have thoughts, and another great text from Chapstick right there. Where there's a requirement, there's a waiver. Boom.
Ooh.
Yep. 405-651-3439 is how you chime in via the text line. We'll keep it rolling on the other side. You're listening to Locked In on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Stay here.
Hornsdown apple pie liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Hornsdown apple pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Commemorative coin during any Thunder game.
So start off 2025 right.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
We all play a role in keeping our communities safe. Oklahoma is no stranger to attacks. It's now easier than ever. If you see something, say something. The free and anonymous Protect OK app allows instant reporting of suspicious activity, both in schools and the community. You can help keep your family and friends safe.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Download the Protect OK app today in the Apple app or Google Play stores. Funded by the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security.
So you want to create your future, discover a path worth traveling down, find a career to get excited about. For decades, Moore Norman Tech has been training talented, skilled individuals, empowering them to step into a career that fuels not only their life, but the Oklahoma workforce. These individuals are the heartbeat of this state's economy. Individuals just like you. Create your future today at Moore Norman Tech.
This is Mark Van Hoos, owner of Van Hoos Fence. Van Hoos Fence has years of experience and proven superior performance, kind of like a certain head ball coach.
We know Van Hoos Fence offers the best value and service for your residential, commercial, or sports fencing needs. Whether it's a new install or repair work, let Mark and his team at Van Hoos Fence be your trusted resource.
Call us today at 405-735-1167.
Save yourself from Googling it up. Go to vhfence.com. They will work with you in a great way.
At Confidence Ford of Norman, we believe in living up to our name. Our commitment to confidence is in everything we do. Whether you're searching for the perfect vehicle from our extensive selection of new Ford models or pre-owned cars, our dedicated team will help you every step of the way. Because with us, you're family. We're conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive, Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender Auto family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
Heyday Family Entertainment Center in Norman is a great place for exciting group events with 2 floors of fabulous fun. Bowling, mini golf, laser tag, arcade games, ropes course, and more. Plus 2 fully stocked bars and a delicious full-service food menu. Heyday in Norman is perfect for groups of up to 1,000 people. You'll be amazed at everything Heyday has to offer. Call Connie for a free tour at 405-310-3500 or visit heydayfun.com. Let's meet at Heyday.
The word is spreading, and the ref army is growing.
All right, men, you heard him. Let's move.
Find your Sooner coverage fix with the home of Sooner fans on your favorite social media platform for questions of the day, upcoming show interviews, show highlights, and more.
Oh, look at that, an alert. I'm probably trending already.
Search for KREF Sports on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to keep up with the home of Sooner fans. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
It is locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. 405-651-3439 is how you can chime in via the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. This hour of the show brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno, where their low-pressure environment creates an enjoyable experience for everyone. Their sales staff is knowledgeable and eager to assist you before and after the buying process. All that and incredible pricing as well when you make the trek out to El Reno to do business with the folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. Santa John on the text line says, you guys better figure out what your programming will be like following the demise of OU football, because to hear your voices, that eventuality is coming. Look, OU football isn't going anywhere. College football isn't going anywhere. What we're suggesting and what is apparent is that it's going to be radically different in the years to come, Grayson. And there are changes and there are issues and there are problems that will come that I don't think anybody is prepared to deal with right now.
You know, this is, I don't know how much of a history nerd you were in high school or whatever.
It's been a long time since I was in a history classroom.
This is true. This is set up, this usually in history sets up for a dictator to come in and rule a particular country when you see this much chaos.
Lord Saban?
I think it's going to come from higher than Nick Saban.
Ooh.
I think at a certain point the NFL is going to take this over. I think at a certain point there is now, that's a long shot, but the NFL could just use this as their developmental league. I think there is a real possibility that could happen. Just want to throw it out there. And I know I said I think it will happen. I don't know if that will happen soon, but I think there is a possibility that if this just continues to go without leadership and just operating like a rudderless ship, that will keep the door open for the NFL, who is a very adventurous league, and they are not shy about expanding. I can see them taking this over.
Joe in Tulsa says the portal and tampering is fixed easily by the NCAA. They govern school athletics. They make it so that a player can only transfer one time, and it has to be after their sophomore year. Yeah, here's the problem, Joe. It goes back to what we talked about last segment. The NCAA will lose any court case that they are involved with at this point. All it takes, and it would not take long at all it would take is one player to come forward and say, you're restricting my ability to earn money off of my name, image, and likeness. It should not be permissible that you restrict my ability to transfer programs or to transfer schools to change which program I'm going to represent on the football field, and the NCAA would lose that battle in court.
Because you should
be open and shut.
Because you should not be able to restrict somebody to make money based off themselves. Now, here's the thing that everybody's missing, and we didn't say. I don't think we spoke this word in the first segment. You know how this does get fixed? Binding contracts. Not all this verbal agreement stuff, like in the Matthew Sluka case from earlier in the year. There was a lot of verbal, non-binding stuff going on with the Xavier Lucas case that you brought up in the last segment. Signed contracts. That would curb a lot of this.
Ironclad contracts.
Yes, legally binding contracts.
Chris from Knoxville says the traditional concept of college football is dead. Just call it semi-pro football at institutions that offer education. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what Grayson said. I Bleed Crimson now says, why don't we just go back to having zero NIL? Look, again, that would be great if it had any chance of holding up in court, which it doesn't.
And quite frankly, how it held up for so long, I have no idea. I mean, every other grown adult past the age of 18 has the ability to make money doing whatever they want to do.
Yep.
Except college athletes. I don't know how that stood for as long as it did. I really don't.
I Bleed Crimson also said, just texting in to make sure the text line wasn't banned like TikTok. #RefArmy. Hey, we'll be here. We ain't going anywhere. A 580 listener says, if restricting is the case, how does the NCAA restrict play to 4 years? I'm telling you right now, that's the next thing to go. That's the next thing that's going to vanish before our eyes.
And that's vanishing quick, especially because of the new JUCO ruling.
And the NCAA apparently considering a 5-year clock that allows athletes to play up to 5 full years as opposed to 5 for 4. Eligibility restrictions are going to go out the window at a certain point.
Agreed. Glenn from Nashville, I don't think the NFL takes it over. The NFL can barely run their own league these days. The NFL product on the field has never been as bad as it is. What I do think you might see is Congress step in to provide some parameters and rules for college athletics. There's 2 parts to that. Number one, the NFL can barely run its own league. Explain that to me. The product on the field is as bad as it ever has been. What are you watching? The Jets every weekend? I love watching the NFL. The NFL is a great product. Yes, the part I do agree with this, Congress will get involved in this. That House hearing that we had over the summer, that is not the last time you'll see the House or the Senate get involved. And eventually something will get to the president's desk. Look, the NCAA and college football and college basketball have shown they are unable to govern themselves. They just have. No, congressional oversight will eventually happen, yes.
Squirrel from Norman says, I suggest all of us write President Trump ASAP. He will fix.
He's more concerned about renaming bodies of water right now.
Oh, gosh. That's a whole different conversation. How do you go about renaming the Gulf of Mexico? How do you get that to become internationally recognized?
Look, geographically, it could make sense to call it the Gulf of America, except historically, the people of Mexico were here first, which is why it's called what it's called.
That's neither here nor there. Byron in the 918 says, hopefully the conferences have enough power to say you can't transfer mid-semester and play. They don't. No,
they don't.
The players have all the power right now. The players and their agents and their lawyers. Joe in Tulsa says the NCAA is only losing court cases involving money. This isn't about money. It's about eligibility. NCAA altered the transfer rule, and that's what needs fixed. Leave the NIL alone and make it only eligible to transfer once. Any conversation, or I'm sorry, any court case about eligibility necessarily involves money as well. Because the argument will be, and it's only a matter of time before it's made in court, you limiting my collegiate eligibility is limiting my NIL earning potential. And as long as I'm in school and working toward a degree, why shouldn't I be eligible for however long I want to be eligible? That's going to be the next thing that gets challenged in court successfully.
And the reason this whole thing is collapsing on itself is that there's only one reason for me that this is collapsing in a way that we can't fix it at all. It's because too much of this was based on something that was illegal. Whether it's violation of antitrust laws, whether it's hindering people from making money based on their name, image, and likeness, too much of it is foundationally built on stuff that is illegal. That's the only reason to me why we can't figure our way through this chaos.
Santa John said, I'm very close to giving up on college football, as are many other fans. You guys had better get involved in political programming because that's all you will have.
I have a political science minor. Chapstick says, please no to Congress being involved. Very little gets better with Congress involved, and it will be bad for students. Look, I agree. I agree.
100%.
It'll be bad for some people, and Congress is not the most efficiently functioning body of anything in the country, but somebody's got to reel this thing in. And if the NCAA can't, then you might want the NFL to take it over before Congress gets involved.
Gunny of Stutzman Army with a very on-brand text. My people was here first, sir, and they should let me take over the NCAA. I'd quit testing for weed, I'll tell you that much. Oh, we know, Gunny.
Does the NCAA still test for weed?
Yes, they do.
They do? I didn't know that.
Yeah. A32 Mike says, Parker, you're saying it like these guys are actually trying to get a degree. That percentage is so small. No, I realize that, A32 Mike, but I'm saying that's the pretense. And that's their Trojan horse, if you will, for infinite eligibility. The argument will be, well, as long as I'm enrolled at an institution, taking classes, pursuing a degree, and maintaining good academic standing, why shouldn't I be eligible for as long as I want to be eligible?
Cam McCormick is not going to be an anomaly very soon.
I Bleed Crimson asks, are you guys saying we may see guys playing college football for a decade? I mean, it does take around 10 years to become a doctor, supposedly. Yeah, what I'm saying, I mean, like, you see it these days with 6th and 7th year guys where they've got an undergrad degree, they've got an MBA, let's say, and now they're in PhD classes because it's really the only thing left for them to be able to continue playing because they still have athletic eligibility left, but they've already got 2 degrees. I mean, heck, there was I think it was during the OU game this past Saturday, the OU basketball game, where they were talking on the broadcast about a South Carolina player that is getting a law degree at the end of the semester.
Oh, my goodness.
He'll graduate with a law degree.
Wow.
One-star Joe Bob from Louisiana with a good point. You have to smoke Gunny's amount to be busted by the NCAA. A lot of players use weed.
And a lot of players use Gunny's amount of weed, too.
And none of them seem to get caught.
No.
Nobody really cares at this point. Exactly. 5-star Gunny says it should be called the Native Gulf.
I wouldn't mind that.
The Gunny Gulf. Let's just name it after you, Gunny. I'm with it.
Dave from Norman, you're going to see a lot of college football doctors soon.
Yeah, no doubt. A 740 listener says, on a real topic, will basketball get a GM at OU, or is that only a football thing? Well, I don't know if there's the need for a basketball GM. I mean, maybe there is. I know Adrian, Woj took a similar job. I think it is entitled a GM job at St. Bonaventure. Yeah, so maybe that's the direction college basketball is headed. But look, in a college basketball program, you're only generally managing 15 student athletes, right? In the sport of football, you're managing 105. So there's just a lot more that goes into the operation from a football standpoint that makes it necessary to have a whole bunch of administrative positions in football that you're not going to have in really any other sport. So basketball might get a GM, but is that necessarily an A1 priority for this athletic department right now? No, I think the A1 priority is getting this football program back to a competitive state. And to that point, obviously the news broke last week that Curtis Lofton is officially leaving the football program as general manager. He'd been phasing out of that role for some time, but his last paid day as OU football's general manager is February 1st. So at that point, Oklahoma will be searching for a new GM, and there are plenty of front office changes coming. I say front office. That's not technically what it's called, but that's what it's going to resemble once all these changes are complete, is an NFL front office. Oklahoma's adopting a very NFL organized model, and a lot of P4 programs are starting to do the same, adopting similar models, because college football, more and more, from a structural standpoint, is beginning to resemble the NFL. So that's why you see Jake Rosenberg involved. as heavily as he has been with Oklahoma's operation. He's a guy with plenty of background in the NFL. And he won't be the only one that takes on a greater role for this program or that is hired from outside the program to fill a role or roles, if you will, that have not previously existed in college football, at least not for very long, and certainly not at Oklahoma, but that are commonplace in the NFL. 3-star UConn Bob says, the word academic in this scenario is a joke. Do the players not know without a university their ability to earn a living would be in a field not related to sports? Yeah, well, there are plenty of student athletes that come to college with the goal of attaining a degree and setting themselves up for life after football, UConn Bob. There are also plenty that come to college with absolutely no intention of doing anything academic. They're there to play football. They're majoring in football. So that's how it is. That's how it'll always be. 405-651-3439 if you want to continue to chime in. On the other side of the break here, we're going to have one final segment on Locked In before we turn it over to Teddy and Tyler on The Rush, coming up at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios with you for one segment on the other side. Keep it here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Norman Regional Urgent Care is ready to get you back on your feet today, not next week.
Hi everybody, Toby Rowland here. And are you and your family looking for a place to golf in 2025? The Trails Golf Club in Norman is perfect for you. The Trails give you the opportunity for you and your family to spend quality time together by playing golf, enjoying the pool in the summertime, along with many family fun-filled activities around holidays. Plus, one of the best restaurants in town. Now is the perfect time to join the Trails. Contact Zane Alexander today at 405-360-3790 or visit trailsgolf.com.
Hey, Dad, what do you do for work?
Well, you know how in football, we work together to protect the quarterback and sack the opponent's quarterback.
Yeah?
At work, I do something similar. I protect people who've been hurt in accidents and make sure those big insurance companies pay what they should.
I get it. You sack the insurance companies.
That's right. I fight for people's rights, making sure they get the help and justice they deserve.
When you're hurt, call attorney Jonathan Jackson. Get help. Get justice. Get JJ Law. Call 855-GET-JJ Law today.
Somewhere, there's a river rushing through the woods while someone rushes through their day. There's a mountain looking up at the sky while someone looks down at their phone. A trail waiting to be walked while someone waits for a latte. This world is full of somewheres waiting for someone just like you. So go see yours at 154 national forests and 20 grasslands. And to learn more, visit nationalforest.org. The National Forest Foundation. See your somewhere.
When students struggle because they are hungry
or fall behind because they lack school supplies,
a caring adult can make all the difference.
Especially someone from the community.
Someone who knows the students
and the obstacles they might be facing.
At Communities in Schools, our site coordinators surround students with a community of support
to ensure that they have everything they need to engage in learning.
We go all in for kids, all day, every day.
To learn more, visit communitiesInschools.org.
Hey drivers, it's Ryan Blaney, your 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion and driver of the number 12 Discount Tire Ford Mustang. Do you know one of the most important things that helps keep my car going on the track? Tire pressure. Keeping your tires properly inflated is crucial for safe stopping power and better gas mileage. Check your tire pressure at least once a month or stop by a local tire retailer for an air check.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
Mama, what does the chicken say? Dog. Cat. Giraffe.
Giraffe, really? Giraffe. Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right.
Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Ready for some pickleball fun? Join us at the Y-Fac for pickleball every Tuesday from 8 to 11 a.m. and Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. Grab your friends and hit the courts for a lively morning or evening game. If water fitness is your pleasure, Aqua Zuma classes are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Go online at yfac.com to learn more about day passes and memberships.
Well, Chicago Bears landed the big fish in the NFL coaching carousel just moments ago. Ben Johnson, Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, headed to Chicago, reportedly, to be the Bears' next head coach. That's a big win. Everybody wanted that guy. Understandably so. His Lions offenses have had a ton of success the past 3 years under his direction. Caleb Williams, got to be happy with that.
Can they get an offensive line in front of him? He was the most sacked quarterback. Now, some of it on his own volition because he holds the ball forever, but he was constantly running for his life back there. So can they get him an offensive line? And can they just get some more creativity in that offense? You remember, I think maybe it was around week 9, there was that report that came out that the players were telling Shane Waldron to be more aggressive in his play calling. You know you've lost it when your players are calling you a 5-letter word that rhymes with witch.
No lies detected. Absolutely no lies detected. Last segment of the day here on Locked In. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton here with you. Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439 if you want to chime in. Greg in Muskogee just texted and said, tell us more about the freakish tennis player that looks like a football player.
Yeah, who is that guy?
Bruno. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But his first name's Bruno. He's a tennis player. I don't know a lot about it. I know he's a viral sensation right now. I don't know if he's ever played football in his life or what he would play. And he make a promise that...
Yeah, I think he said like 500 likes on that tweet and he's going to try out for the football team or something like that.
Well, wouldn't like if they could get 500 people to show up?
Yes,
for
that's what it was. You're
for
correct.
The tennis match?
Yes, that's what it was. I knew it was 500 something.
Interesting. I don't know. I got to go and do research on this guy.
Because wouldn't being that bulky limit your ability to go side to side in tennis? Now, I know Francis Tiafoe is a pretty jacked dude, but this guy looks a little bit bulky, looks like a linebacker.
Oh, yeah, he's 6'3". Okay. I'm saying tight end.
Sure.
I'm saying he plays tight end if he wants to make the transition to football. He's from Mozambique.
Okay.
Previously spent time at Cowley County Community College in Arkansas City, Kansas, where he was a 3-time national champion. Okay. Maybe this is the next great... I'm trying to think. Has tennis ever had anybody transition to football that hit it big? Obviously, basketball has had many of these guys. Antonio Gates, Jimmy Graham, etc. Could this be the first rags to riches tennis to football greatness story? Bruno Navene, I'm going to say. That's the guess that I'm going to float out there. Gunny says this offense is going to run through Bruno and Jaron Kanik.
We are screwed.
Elsewhere on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, Yukon Bob says, I see why Gunny smokes as much as me. Just to understand the crap going on in the world of sports today, we both wish we could get a degree in weedology and get paid for it.
I'm pretty sure there's jobs out there that have to do with weed that'll give you a serviceable living.
Oh, yeah. Just go work at a dispensary. They got to make a killing.
Yeah.
I've never seen an out-of-business dispensary, I'll put it that way.
Especially in a college town.
Mm-hmm. Everybody got their cards. Everybody. Denver from Indiana says, much respect to you and Drum, Parker. Then he said something political that I can't repeat. But thank you, Denver from Indiana, for paying respect to me and Drum. It's appreciated. This job that we work is becoming more difficult than it ever has been before. Boomer Tuner says, hey, Parker, I missed the past year. Quick rundown in 3 words. It's utter chaos.
Well done.
Is that satisfactory? Feel like that about sums it up.
Chris from Knoxville. Question, would either of you ever call hockey? Because holy moly, props to the NHL guys. No.
Fun story. Fun story on this note. I know this is off topic, but I'm glad you read that text. The very first thing that I ever did upon moving to Oklahoma, journalistically speaking, was call OU club hockey games.
Did you really?
Yep. As a freshman in college. I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't last very long. I'd never watched hockey growing up, didn't really know a ton of the terminology. I knew enough to get by. But the thing about hockey, too, is that it's so fast-paced that you got to talk like a machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
You got to talk like an auctioneer to keep up.
Especially for radio.
And that's just not my speed, man.
In
a very literal sense, that is not my speed.
I would not do it because I've tried to learn the sport and it just doesn't resonate with my mind. I've tried. I've put in the effort, but nope. Not going to happen.
Several of you on the text line have corrected me. Okay, not Arkansas City, but Arkansas City, apparently. Can't escape these weird regional pronunciations, even in the state of Kansas, apparently. CD from Hockley says, back to football. Does Peyton Pierce come with Jim Knowles? We talked about this a little bit on Friday. If, and only if, Jim Knowles were to take the defensive coordinator job at the University of Oklahoma, I can understand why many are connecting the dots and figuring, yeah, there's a good chance you could convince Peyton Pierce to transfer to Oklahoma. And there probably is a good chance. That would probably be something that I would imagine Brent Venables would put in Jim Knowles' ear. Hey, see what you can do to get Peyton Pierce here. Given all of his connections to the University of Oklahoma, the family connections, if you're not familiar with Peyton Pierce, freshman linebacker at Ohio State, the family connections to Oklahoma are myriad. He has family in Norman, had a brother that wrestled at Oklahoma. Grandparents went to Oklahoma. I believe grandfather played football at Oklahoma. And he is one bad dude at the linebacker spot. They'd love to have him, but here's what you must understand about his situation. He committed to Ohio State primarily for James Laurinaitis' sake, who at the time was a graduate assistant and is now the linebackers coach at Ohio State. So, would Oklahoma be hiring James Laurinaitis in addition to Jim Knowles? Probably not, right? Jim Knowles is a one-for-one replacement of Zach Alley, theoretically speaking, and James Laurinaitis is an Ohio State alumnus who probably is not going anywhere in the foreseeable future. And so, can you give Peyton Pierce enough reasons to turn his back on James Laurinaitis and come back home to the Mid-South? He's from the DFW area. And leave Columbus, Ohio. I wouldn't be too optimistic. The likelihood in my mind is that he stays with Ohio State as long as Laurinaitis is on staff. But we'll see. Been surprised before. You hire away as DC. Got all those connections to Oklahoma in the first place. You'll have a compelling case for a guy like that. Is it enough? I doubt it, but you'll have a case. Luke asks, and this is a question that I imagine is on many people's minds. Realistically, how soon would we hear about what Knowles decides to do? By the end of the week, you're going to know, Grayson. And it probably won't be that long at all.
Thursday at the latest.
This is going to happen fast. And regardless of which way it goes, and I do think it goes Oklahoma's way right now. I think there are enough arrows pointing in that direction that you can conclude safely that will be the likely outcome. But whichever way it goes, you're going to know probably within 48, 72 hours that A, either Oklahoma has hired Jim Knowles and a deal is in place for him to be their next offensive coordinator, or Ohio State has retained Jim Knowles, signed him to a contract extension, and given him a hefty raise. One of those two things is hitting your Twitter feed and hitting the news cycle, I would say no later than Wednesday or Thursday, yes.
Yeah, and those are the only two options.
Pretty much.
There's nothing more to add to that. A texter in the 405, will there be changes to the medical staff before next season?
To the best of my knowledge, no. No, there will not be.
Doug and Norman, guys, the NCAA was once the director of college athletics, but due to a continuous string of losses in the U.S. judicial system, the NCAA just threw up its hands and said, okay, let's let the inmates run this asylum. That is what has happened, and now it won't change for the better until some sort of binding national legislation comes that will stabilize the sinking ship. And that's what we said last segment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've reiterated that point consistently, that the NCAA just threw its hands up and said, to hell with it. You guys figure this out on your own. And that's just because the foundation of the NCAA has been undercut because players can make money now.
Let's jump back to Knowles for just a second because I want to close with this conversation. Grayson, if you can put yourself in the shoes of an OU football fan,
okay,
what do you want to see tonight from Jim Knowles' unit in order? Like, okay, beyond the obvious, you'd love to see him shut out Notre Dame. Realistically, what do you want to see from Jim Knowles' defense tonight if you're an Oklahoma fan that can get you optimistic about what the future of the defensive unit at the University of Oklahoma could potentially look like, assuming he's the hire?
That's a really good question. Nobody has been able to really stop Notre Dame's running attack once this season has gotten going. With the two backs that they have, Love, he says his knee is close to 100%. And then, of course, they use the quarterback, Riley Leonard, very well. In those sorts of RPO read option plays, I would love to see Ohio State close every gap and make it really, really tough for Notre Dame to run the ball. I think if you do that, that is a huge accomplishment. And put the game on Riley Leonard's arm. That to me is what I want to see from them. I'm not going to get into certain stats or anything like that, but can he scheme up a way to stop something that hasn't been stopped for the majority of this year?
You know, it's been a continuous struggle for Oklahoma in the Brent Venables era. It wasn't as much of a struggle this past season, but certainly an area in which the program could stand to improve. It's rushing the passer. R. Mason Thomas got himself 9 sacks this past year. It's great. That's the most that anybody had in an Oklahoma uniform since, I believe, Nick Bonito in 2020?
Yes.
But up until that point, nobody had really developed a reputation as your calling card dude off the edge. And now heading into 2025, Oklahoma has several guys that fit that description, most notably Thomas and Marvin Jones Jr. And so to me, this is the one thing that Ohio State has done exceptionally well throughout this playoff run, is they have made life miserable for opposing quarterbacks. JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer have continuously generated pressure. Even when they're not getting home, they're speeding up the quarterback's decision-making process. They're tightening his windows, shortening the amount of time that he has to scan the field.
Yeah.
You felt their impact.
And to that point, Notre Dame's offensive line is banged up.
Mm-hmm.
Are they missing their tackle again?
Yeah, the guy that's going to be starting at left tackle for them, Charles Jagiusa, I believe it's going to be the second start of his college career.
And start number 1 was in the semifinal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got another guy I think that's banged. He's going to play, but he's banged up.
And that's part of the reason why the line is as steep as it is for this game.
Who do you think wins this game? You think Ohio State wins?
I've been tempted because I do think it's going to be closer than people expect, but I like Ohio State to get it done.
I do too.
I think with what they have off the edge and what they have offensively, not just in that backfield and not just, if we're talking wide receivers, not just Jeremiah Smith, but guys like Emeka Egbuka. That
Carnell Tate.
Yeah, Carnell Tate might not be all over the headlines the same way that Jeremiah Smith is, but just make plays, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ohio State is going to be too tough to deny tonight for that Notre Dame defense when it comes to defending all those skill position weapons, and certainly too much for that Notre Dame offensive line to hold up. So if I'm an Oklahoma fan, what I want to see tonight is that Ohio State defense taking care of business in an overall sense. You don't have to do one thing especially well. Don't necessarily have to see an individual player have an overwhelmingly strong game, but a well-schemed game from Jim Knowles, a game where, again, you get what you've gotten to this point in the playoffs from Sawyer and Tuimoloau. Just make things difficult on Notre Dame all night long to move the football, whether through the air or on the ground. So we'll have an eye on it. We'll have the reaction tomorrow. Who knows? We might have some news tomorrow. One way or another.
We'll have a champion.
We're going to find out before long whether Jim Knowles will be the next defensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma. Until then, we will wait with bated breath just like you, and we'll see you tomorrow once again at 12 o'clock here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Football. You love it. We love it. You live it. We live it. You need it. We got it. Nobody covers college football better. The Rush.
Right here on the Ref Sports Radio Network.